Okay, and this is an example from one of our patients who had a NeuroQuant analysis done. Again, it's a cross-sectional image similar to the previous one I showed you on the other patient. And you can see the pretty high resolution detail that this technique provides. All right, now what does it mean that NeuroQuant is FDA approved? What is it approved for? Well, it's approved as a medical device to measure brain MRI volume in human subjects. Basically, it's a brain ruler. It just measures how big is the brain or how small is the brain. Now, Cortex Labs, they market it for use in Alzheimer's patients, and it's very good for using in Alzheimer's patients. But it's not FDA approved to use specifically in Alzheimer's patients. You can use it in Alzheimer's or traumatic brain injury or any human subjects. It's approved to measure brain volume in any human subjects. Furthermore, it's not approved to diagnose Alzheimer's or to diagnose traumatic brain injury or to diagnose anything. It's approved simply to measure brain volume. And the FDA approved NeuroQuant because it was found to be highly reliable with earlier methods which involve computer-assisted manual identification of the brain regions. Reliable means repeatable. It means that when you use the older, well-tested methods to measure brain volume, and you compared the results to if you use FreeSurfer to measure the same brain MRI data, you get basically the same results or very, very similar results. This is an example of a NeuroQuant report. We call this the NeuroQuant Standard Report, and this is page 1, and you can see in the top part we have some cross-sectional images of the brain at different sections through the brain. You can see the colored brain regions which are identified for volume measurement. Then we have 3 rows here which are 3 brain regions which have had their volume measured. And if you look to the right of that, you can see the volumes as well as the normative percentiles. The normative percentile tells you how big that brain region is compared to the group of normal controls. So if you've ever seen a plot of pretty much anything versus number of patients or number of people, you usually get that bell curve. Most people fall in the middle. A few people are really high and a few people are really low. And if your brain volume of a certain region is so small it falls below the lower 5 percentile, then that's defined as abnormally small. This is page 2 of the NeuroQuant Standard Report. And again, we have our brain regions identified, and you see below there we have multiple brain regions. I think that's 11 brain regions with their volumes measured, left side and right side, and then an asymmetry index in the right column, which is how big the left side is versus to the right, or the right side is compared to the left. Now, 3 of these brain regions were also shown on the page 1 of the NeuroQuant Standard Report and compared to normal controls. These additional 8 brain regions, although the volume is measured, the volume's not compared to normal controls. And that's a limitation of NeuroQuant currently, and one that we wanted to improve upon. NeuroQuant has been found to be reliable with FreeSurfer. There's one study so far that's looked at that. They only looked at 1 brain region, however. So there's more work that needs to be done there. We need to look at additional brain regions. We would anticipate it would be reliable because, remember, as I said earlier, NeuroQuant is based on FreeSurfer. It's basically the portion of FreeSurfer that measures brain volume, although it has been modified by Cortex Labs somewhat from the original FreeSurfer software for commercial use. NeuroQuant's been found to be reliable with a computer-supported manual technique using neuromorphometric software. And the segmentation error rate of NeuroQuant was found to be very low. Only 9 out of 822 regions were misidentified. Segmentation errors, that means those colored brain regions that are identified automatically by the software, a human operator, a human being looks it over and makes sure that the computer program got it right. And if the computer program got it wrong, that would be identified as an error. Those errors, it's always important to check those, and those errors occur at a very low rate, according to this study. Now, free surfer has been found to be valid in assessing traumatic brain injuries. Brain injury, there's multiple studies that have supported that. And NeuroQuant has been found to be valid in assessing traumatic brain injury. We have 3 published or in-press articles in the scientific literature that have found that. To my knowledge, these are the only 3 articles looking at NeuroQuant and traumatic brain injury so far. And I'll tell you more about those articles during the remainder of this talk. We'll get into those in some detail.